You're not losing weight because your metabolism has stalled. This is the biggest load of BS that I have ever heard in my entire life. And there are coaches out there that use this as their marketing tool. So the premise behind what they're saying is, you're not losing weight because you've been dieting for too long, you've crashed your metabolism, it's stalled, it's no longer effective. What we need to do is reverse diet you back up so that you can actually lose body fat through eating more, consuming more. It is a complete lie, and I am more than happy to open up and share the truths about this practice because it winds me up, quite honestly. It is not something that anybody should be listening to. Now, to caveat this, I would actually say there is one category of woman where this is actually the case for, and those women are women who have had an eating disorder, essentially. So what they've done is bring themselves into starvation mode, and they are genuinely, and I mean genuinely, we're talking about anorexic people, we're talking about bulimic people. These are people who are eating sub 1,000 calories a day, and they are genuinely doing that, and it is a mental health illness, and they are quite unwell. That category of woman does actually need to undertake a reverse diet where their macros are very, very slowly increased over a period of time so that they can actually get back into a healthy position without putting on a ton of body fat. The only other, so I do reverse diets, by the way, I die on my sword for them. That's how much I believe it. But not as a fat loss protocol. I am not teaching anyone to reverse diet as a fat loss protocol. It is not the way things should be done. The way that I use a reverse diet, so we do the fat loss phase first. That's what comes first inside the Strong Her program. That's the initial main goal for the majority of women that I coach. Not all of them, but the majority of women that I coach. We do the fat loss phase first. Then, rather than just literally bringing them straight back up to maintenance, where they are then going to be bloated, they are then going to have a bit of a reaction to way higher calories, and we need to drip feed the process to prevent the body fat from coming back on. But we've dropped the body fat. That's the point here. And guess how we've dropped the body fat? By putting somebody into a calorie deficit. Now, a lot of women land on my page, okay? You might not love hearing this, but the amount of women that I speak to that genuinely believe they're eating hardly anything and they are putting on weight, it is simply not true. You just haven't understood how many calories you are actually consuming, and that is the problem. So a lot of women I speak to say, I'm only eating one meal a day. I don't snack. I never do that. All of these different things, but what they're not realizing is that they are doing this. It is scientifically impossible to put on excess body fat if you are not in an energy surplus. So you've got energy in, which is your intake of calories, food, alcohol, whatever that might look like to you. That is your energy in piece. If you are exceeding that with your energy out, so you're burning fewer calories than you are putting into your body, you're going to start to put on weight. If your energy output is actually greater than the energy that you're putting into your body, you will start to lose weight. It is a scientifically proven method. That is it. And what these coaches are doing, and I tell you one thing, you won't stick with them for very long. And the reason for that is because you won't get the results you are looking for. They are telling you that you can actually have higher calories and drop body fat. And because you've taken your calories too low, that's the reason you're not dropping body fat. It does not make sense. Nothing about this approach, this way of working, it is complete and utter BS. Honestly, it genuinely is. And I'm not the kind of coach to sit here and tell you something that is not true. Anyone that lands on my page, I'm pretty blunt, I'm pretty forthcoming with the kind of advice I give, but it is factual advice. It is scientific advice. I have coached hundreds and hundreds of women through this method and through this system. And to hear these coaches market their products like this, and all people are doing is falling into a trap. They're thinking, this must be me. My metabolism is broken. No, it fucking isn't. And I know, given how many nutrition logs that I look at, so all of our women, we are telling them to track every single thing that passes their lips. If they are not dropping body fat, it is my job as their coach to find the needle in the haystack. What about this nutrition log is not making sense? And it usually falls into a handful of categories. So the first one is underestimating. So they're essentially guesstimating. They're not accurately weighing things, measuring things. They're just guesstimating as they go along. You can see that a mile off when people are, like a really good example. So I had a client who said that she had a 30-gram jacket potato, and I actually went to my fridge, chopped up a 30-gram jacket potato, which was about this big for the record, and I was like, can you see that is not accurately tracked? And if that's not accurately weighed out and measured, I can guarantee there are other things in this log that will also be inaccurate. She learned a lesson that day and realized, yeah, you know what? She is right. I'm not accurately tracking. I'm genuinely not. That's what it falls down to. The other one you can usually see. So I've had a client who put a whole Sunday roast dinner in there, and I was like, out of interest, are you the kind of woman that doesn't have gravy on your Sunday roast dinner? And she was like, oh, no, I did have gravy, actually. So that is where it falls into accidentally missing things out of the log. Gravy can easily be 150 calories in food, right? So the moment I notice that, I can go back and say, you're missing things out. And that's the other type of tracker. Somebody that just, a bit of an oversight, not necessarily deliberately trying to mislead or sell themselves short, essentially. But you can see that, again, a mile off. If your coach is worth their weight in gold, they will be able to see these kind of things showing up in your log. Another one is often condiments, where they're either not tracked or they're not logged, or things are just missing, and you can see this a mile off. Milk in cups of tea or coffee. Again, I can tell if somebody is accurately putting that information in, or the other alternative is they're leaving themselves a little bit of a buffer of maybe 100 calories for things like milk in tea, where they actively say, right, I'm not going to track the precise milk in tea, I'm just going to leave a bit of a buffer. I actually don't have too many issues with that, as long as everything else is getting logged or tracked. The other people are the ones who sporadically log, or they're not logging at the weekends, or do you know what I mean? Or they might actually say something in a conversation with me, and then I don't see it in their food log, and I'm thinking, oh, that's interesting, because I know you did that. I know you had a glass of wine because we had a conversation about it, but why is it not in your log? Because what we're aiming for is complete transparency across the board. We want the clients we're working with to be transparent, even if they hit the fuck it button, because these are human beings. These are real life women. Sometimes they're going to hit the fuck it button, okay? But then the fourth type of person, the fourth scenario is the woman who is delusional. The one who claims they are tracking everything, there is nothing missing, and nothing is moving in the right direction. That's the kind of woman who would say, I think I'm broken. I think there is something wrong with me. I think maybe I need to go and get some medical checks done, or maybe I've got some intolerances, or maybe I'm celiac, or maybe all of these different scenarios. But essentially, I hate to say it, but they are actually delusional, and they're not prepared to do the work that is actually going to get the results. And they're usually the women that those kind of coaches can capitalize on. And I am here to dispel that theory altogether by teaching somebody that actually they need to eat more to drop calories does not make sense. Now, one thing I will say is it is really interesting because nearly every single woman who steps foot in my Strong Her program, the first thing they will say in their first week is, I can't believe how much I am eating and I am losing weight. How the fuck is this real? What they don't understand is they're not actually consuming more calories, they just think they are. Because I will write a meal guide for every single woman who steps foot in the program. This will be 100% personalized around dietary requirements, allergies. So there might be gluten intolerant, there might be celiac, there might be like anything. Do you know what I mean? There might be vegan, there might be vegetarian. I'm going to write it based on their preferences. But what I am absolutely going to do is make sure they are having a breakfast, they are having a lunch, they are having a dinner, and they are having snacks. And I am helping them to see that if they spread their macros out across the day, and we do go for really good whole food diets, and that can look like anything, but we're actually cleaner eating. But we're also caveating things like the snack cupboard, going in where, right, okay, I've got a really busy day, I'm not eating, I'm just gonna go grab a chocolate bar, or you know what, I'm gonna have a Domino's pizza on the way home because I've not prepared dinner and I'm tired and I'm stressed. We're caveating all of the other mistakes and the things that they were doing, and we're getting them to build something in around their lifestyle so they can actually get the results they are goddamn looking for. So it feels like they're eating more, but calorie wise they are eating less. The only way to drop body fat is by going into an energy deficit. That is it. Literally, that is it. So energy in is your calories, energy out is how many calories you are burning in an average day. Steps, for reference, burn way more calories than exercise ever will. That's another misconception, but I'll go on to talk about that in a completely different episode because otherwise this will be too long. But this is my point, that you don't realize often the bad habits that have crept in, and they are the reason you are putting on weight. And a really quick way to dispel this theory that your metabolism is the reason why you are not dropping body fat, and actually you need to do all of this bullshit that these coaches are saying, why is GLP-1 working then? So if we take people that are on GLP-1, so the drug, the big pharma movement that's happening at the moment, they are taking this drug, and what it's doing, it's not the drug itself that is dropping body fat. What it's doing is it's essentially stifling their ability to feel hungry. So what it's doing is making them think you're not actually hungry. You're not actually hungry. And when they eat, it tells them you're actually full now and you can stop eating. That's what the drug is doing. And guess what's happening? They're going into a fucking calorie deficit. That is literally what the drug is helping them to do. So like I say, it is not the drug itself that is getting them to drop body fat. And this is one of the reasons I think we are going to see a major reversal on this, because the problem is, unless you're going to take that drug forever, you haven't actually done the inner work. You haven't looked at your lifestyle and actually gone, why was I doing all of the things I was doing before? And actually all the drug is doing, it's an appetite suppressant. That is what's happening. But these women are losing weight on it. And the reason for that is because it is suppressing their appetite, which means it is putting them in a calorie deficit. shock, their metabolisms were never broken. It was just the fact that they didn't understand a calorie deficit. Even if they thought they might have been in one, if you are not losing weight, you are categorically not in a calorie deficit. And we can look at third world countries literally across the world. You do not find obesity in starved countries where they do not have access to the amount of processed food, the amount of food available that we have in a first world country. They don't have it. They don't have Domino's, they don't have McDonald's, they don't have donuts, they don't have ice cream, they don't have snacks and chocolate and all of this. They're literally starving to death, and there is no obesity over there, which again, it just demonstrates that if you take food away at the right quantities, it is impossible not to drop body fat. It's actually impossible not to. So I'm going to leave that one with you. Give it some food for thought, quite literally.